Hello, guys. This is Keith Seymour with Real Talk with Keith Seymour. I'm here with my friend Albert Bruce Moore. Bruce, say hello.
Hey, how's it going?
Hey. We're going to talk about some,
You can sit back.
the President Trump's comments this week. We're going to cover everything from, I guess, Elon Musk inappropriate salute, whether or not that was what it was intended. He shouldn't have made it. Even Bruce and I agree on this point. To the fact that he's challenging the 14th Amendment, and he's wasting a lot of taxpayer money on a load of bullshit. His picks, even, we're going to cover that. So, Bruce, I'm going to give you what do you want to start off with?
I mean, whatever you want to start with exactly.
Okay, let's start off with the Elon Musk salute. Now, look, even the Anti-Defamation League said, look, they didn't view this as a Nazi salute. But it started a trend in which people are doing it. And, you know, this guy should have known better. Okay? It's irrelevant what his intent was. It's irrelevant the fact that he meant it a different way. He should have known that that gesture was going to be taken negatively. I mean, the guy's a billionaire. He owns several companies. You know, if you own a tech company, you're intelligent enough to figure this out. Let's face it.
That's not always true. I think that's the misconception about Elon Musk. Just because he has his wealth and has a tech company that, by the way, he didn't invent, he just bought. He bought Tesla. He didn't invent anything in Tesla. Tesla was already a company that existed before him.
What about the rocket company?
Yeah, SpaceX. Yeah, the things he's using with Tesla technology that existed again prior to him buying it. How about Twitter? Something that also existed before him buying it. So it's like, you call him a genius? What's the genius exactly?
Well, okay, I'm not saying genius, but I'm saying, look, if he's intelligent enough to make enough money, he's intelligent enough. I mean, basically, it's common sense.
It's common sense, you say. There's a lot of rich people. Would you say a lot of rich people have common sense, or they just have financial sense?
I think the richer we become, sometimes the dumber we become, quite honestly. But the fact is, it's caused a lot of... An Anglican priest got fired by the Anglican Church or the Episcopal Church recently because he said, he was talking pro-life, and I'm very pro-life. And he said, look, I love you guys.
Did you just do the salute?
But this, he said, I love you guys. And he should have been fired. I'm sorry. That's a political salute. I'm Catholic. We don't allow political gestures. We don't do that. But
so what do you think of the grand scheme of Nazis in America, I guess? Because that is still a thing that does exist.
Oh, yeah. I remember skinheads in the 80s and 90s.
So how do you feel about just that being a thing that exists here in the U.S.? And do you feel as if there's any concern about it probably propagating to a larger extent based upon these actions?
I don't think that gesture is going to bring more people. It's going to cause more people to become Nazis. I do think it is going to cause more people who already think like that to be more visible. I think people are going to be more... they're going to be more
exercising or vocal upon that.
Yeah, exactly. They're going to be more vocal. Like the skinheads of the late 1980s and the early 1990s. you know,
Hold on a second. You know what? Since we're doing this, I'm gonna see if I can find this list real quick. But we're talking about Elon. I'm just gonna discard that.
and Elon, you know, because he's associated, and I know you said that Trump never would have done this,
Associate or sociopath?
but because he's associated with Trump, you know, even for public relations reasons, and his public relations person, and and I know when we discussed this yesterday, you said he probably said that. No, I think they're too afraid to tell him this is what you need to do, but his public relations person should have said, look, even if you don't follow through with this, what you need to say is, okay, it may not have been a Nazi salute. We have freedom of speech in this company.
Country.
But Elon, what Elon did, obviously it was something that could have been perceived wrongly and incorrectly. And I can understand why people would see it that way. If he ever does that again, he's gone. But we know that, you know, and because that's going to associate with White House policy. I mean,
let's put this into the context of White House policy, right? That's what you say is going to affect. You feel as if Elon Musk is, I don't use the word infiltrating.
No, that's how outsiders are going to.
Let me just say who Elon has associated himself with.
Okay.
All right. So first off, the Alternative für Deutschland. This is a group that trivializes the Holocaust. This is like a far right group in Germany.
Yeah, I know. I've heard of it.
They claim Hitler, yes, the Hitler was not right wing or conservative, but a communist. They say Hitler shouldn't be seen as pure evil because history is never black and white. Since you know who they are, we'll go to the next person.
Yeah.
Andrew McIntyre. Elon has advocated for this dude who I think has been in jail, but this guy is a self-proclaimed neo-Nazi. Key architect.
Is this the guy in England?
I believe it is. Yeah, that's right, because he's a key architect of the protests that happened in England.
He's going to, I forgot what name he's going to, Tommy Thompson or something like that. But yeah, I'm familiar with him.
Elon has advocated for him not to be in trouble.
Yeah, and basically, and that's, and yeah, I watch Question Time, BBC Global News.
So with that being said, with his affiliations, with the people he support, with the movement that he, you know, I told you about the German alternative right group. So you know, he made a video appearance for them, telling them things like, you shouldn't feel bad being German. You shouldn't feel the guilt of your father's grandfather's grandfather. The whole thing was 80 years ago. You talk about someone's grandfather, who are we talking about? How, with that information, and with Elon's actions, and with his position, how does this whole thing make you feel?
Well, a lot. Okay, first of all, Germans are not real happy with Elon, and neither are the British.
Neither is anyone. A lot of people.
Okay, but as far as,
but consider he's the richest man in the world.
Well, that gives him a platform.
But that also gives him some clout in political arenas too.
But
I don't want to ignore that.
No, but that clout, I wouldn't look. I give it a year tops before Trump and Elon have a falling out. Employment under the Trump administration, history shows us, even throughout the campaign, is not job security. Okay. Which takes us to segues into the next thing.
Mm-hmm.
Retaliatory
tariffs.
Firing.
Oh, you're talking about the firings.
Okay. The firing of the people of FBI agents and people who work for the IRS, even, and all these other federal companies that investigated him. These people are career people. They're not appointees. They are people who are hired because they are qualified. Okay. They have been doing this job for 20, 30, 40 years. Okay. They are told, they are assigned a case. It's not like, do you want this case? It's, This is what we're giving you. You do it. End of. Okay. They don't have any choice over the cases that they take. Okay. They have expertise in certain areas. This is what you're going to do. So you and I both looked it up because I asked you to look it up. And
Well, you want the results?
yeah.
Okay. I get you. Give me a second.
And I left mine in the other room.
That's fine. I got it right here. So the whole case or question was
federal law.
I got you. Yeah. Is there any type of federal law on retaliation firings? Or can a president do retaliation firings? To answer that, yes, there are federal laws against retaliation firing. Federal laws protect federal employees from retaliation. The Whistleblower Protection Act of 1989 and the Whistleblower Protection Enhancement Act of the 2012 prohibit federal agencies from taking adverse actions such as termination against employees, but who report misconduct or fraud, waste, or abuse within the government. So for that type of stuff, I guess you can't be fired, all right?
Yeah. Also,
We'll get into that later. But hang on a second. Additionally, the Civil Service Reform Act of 1978 protects federal employees from unfair personal actions, including retaliation or exercising their rights. Here's the question. With that being said, and showing that there can be cases of firing based upon misconduct, fraud, waste, or abusement within government, couldn't Trump utilize the argument of either fraud, waste, or abuse within government to imply why these people should be fired?
He has to prove that in a court of law. Will you go into the other room and get my phone because it has the federal the
go ahead, finish your point.
The Federal Labor Department. The point is that Trump fired a lot of people for investigating, and under the federal employment laws, and I'll read that to you. Thank you. Let's take a look at this.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay. So while you're looking this up,
there we go. Retaliation laws and federal employment.
You gotta look it up. Okay. While he's looking this up,
okay.
Tell us in the comments what you think. Do you think Trump is stepping out of line, or do you think that he is well within his right to utilize his presidential ability to deem who he feels is fit and not fit for federal positioning?
Okay, here we go. Federal laws, and this is the U.S. Department of Labor. A retaliation occurs when an employer, through a manager, supervisor, administrator, or directly fires an employee or takes any type of adverse action against an employee for engaging in protected activity. An adverse action is an action which would dissuade a reasonable employee from raising a concern about a possible violation or engaging in other protected activity. And it goes on to say that, for instance, investigating. So, this is Trump Fair Labor Standards Act. Here we go. The Fair Labor Standards Act establishes minimum wage, overtime pay, family medical leave. Anyway, apparently Trump is going to be sued on this. And basically, yeah, Trump's not going to be in court defending himself against all of these other cases, but he's going to be in court because he's sued by these people. Okay, basically, he's got, and you raised an issue, you can raise it again. He's two judges have said, in addition to 20 states, that basically, and these are federal judges, as of yesterday, You can't do this without warning. Uh, Stop all funding to nonprofit organizations. Law says you've got to give 30 days notice. Um, and you can't be that broad. You have to be specific. Um,
So what's your point to this?
this this is going to the Supreme Court. The 14th Amendment. I'm sorry, you can't overturn the 14th Amendment. And even if he could, he would be out of office, and probably dead by the time it got passed, because it takes a 3/5 majority in both houses. We haven't had that since the 1970s. Okay, um, that was the ERA, and that didn't pass, even though the U.S. Supreme Court extended it another 5 to 7 years, and it still didn't pass. Okay, um, and then you've got to have 3/5 of all states say, yeah, okay, we agree to this being an amendment. So he's got to overturn this amendment with another amendment. The last time an amendment was overturned with another amendment was when prohibition was done away with in 1933. So, he's wasting a lot. I realize he's trying to send a lot of money. I mean, a lot of messages out there to warn people that I'm here. Don't mess with me. I'll screw your life up.
Well, let's talk about that for a second, right? Don't mess with me, I'll screw your life up. I do want to talk about the trade war that's currently happening. Yeah, but before I get there, I actually want to discuss immigration. We talked about the 14th Amendment. And Guantanamo Bay has just been recently reestablished as a place to hold illegal immigrants. How should Americans, or at the very least, how do you feel in regards to how this whole immigration is being handled, and how I guess is going to be continually handled until the Supreme Court says otherwise?
Well, I have mixed feelings about it. On one hand, I do believe we need protection at the borders. That's got to be done. We've got to have people have got to come over here legally. They've got to follow procedures. However, and I definitely don't want people who are rapists, murderers, and criminals crossing the border, and people who are traffickers, trafficking drugs, and who are trafficking people.
That's fair.
Okay. For my brief time in the Peace Corps, I worked with children who were trafficked, and I'm telling you, it makes one cry when you see what these kids have gone through. Okay, they're kidnapped. They're or the parents are told, well, we'll give your kid a good job. This was my case, but or they're they're runaways because they're pissed off with their parents. But they're groomed and
taken advantage of.
And the girls and the boys are raped.
Can't say that.
I'm speaking from experience.
I know, but you can't say that on YouTube or your channel get deemed. You can't use that word.
Oh, okay. They are
great. Taken advantage of. You got the point. Don't get too caught up on that. The question is the U.S. and how they're handling immigration. That's the
okay. Point. So I think that those sort of people should be. I think the border should be closed. I don't know. I think it should be closed until we can process the people that we already have to be processed.
What should happen to the immigrants that are currently transported?
What Trump went too far, in my opinion, when people from Afghanistan who helped protect our military while we were over there, who were granted visas, were suddenly told, I'm sorry, you're out of luck. Your visas are revoked. You can't come here. If you have, go home. That's wrong. These people helped protect the men on our military. They were translators, they were bodyguards. They should be protected. These people who already had, um, who proved they already had, they were coming from countries that were violent, where there were wars, and they were going from, um, their lives were in danger, and they had a meeting that on some app. Now, if you wanted to do away with the app, that's fine, but they had a meeting that day, uh, that Trump, to meet with someone to determine their case, to meet with a judge. They told them no. No. Trump overstepped the boundary there. He should have allowed those people that had the meetings with the immigration court to come in, and he should have allowed the people, the Afghans, who helped our American heroes, um, to become American heroes, to come in, and then he should have just stopped. Now, if you came over here illegally, I don't have a problem with you being arrested for being an illegal alien. I do have a problem with people going into schools and churches, and um, they've been reported doing, and 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 being in a very threatening manner. As for Guantanamo, Guantanamo doesn't have a really good reputation, but if you're going to put people that, and it depends on, are they going to be kept there until it's decided, their status is decided, and they can go to a court, or are they going to be kept there permanently until they're deported, or are they just going to be just, you know, what's the deal?
Okay, so in the end of it, are you fine with it? Because I guess my issue is, it feels like they're going after a certain set of immigrants, because we act like illegal immigration is only from Mexico or from Hispanic-based countries, even in South America. There's Canadians that come in here illegally. There's Europeans, Australians, maybe even some from Asia, but they're never looked at from that degree. Do you feel like this is a racially driven initiative?
Yes.
Okay.
And I'll tell you why. Because when I was getting my paralegal certification, we actually had this discussion with a law professor, and one of my fellow students had said, "Oh yeah, Keith's right." She had a classmate, or roommate, who was over here on partial scholarship,
Mm-hmm.
And from either Mexico or
Yeah.
one of those countries, and she took full-time classes. She worked two jobs full-time, and she studied. And what happened was, she missed one meeting. She's like 2 days late for a meeting, and she started getting nasty letters saying, "If you don't show up, we're going to deport your backslide." Now, the same girl, had a boyfriend who was on full scholarship from England.
From England.
Okay.
Okay.
And he was over here on a student scholarship, and it was based, and his immigration status was based upon the fact that he was in school. Now, he went to the University of South Carolina. They have a lot of international students. and they know the procedures. But he had dropped out of school 3 months earlier, was sleeping on his girlfriend's couch, and he didn't get one letter. They turned a blind eye. Why? Because we were afraid of ticking off our allies, the British. Well, I'm sorry. So it's more than 11 million. So we need to react towards our allies the same way we do to any other, just the same across the board. Okay? If you have been here, once your documents are up, I'm sorry, you're not going to sleep on someone's couch for 3 months. Okay? You've obviously received the letters. And even if you haven't, the law says, look, if I send you a letter, you don't give me a change of notice address, we still can call you in contempt of court because we have proof that we sent it. Okay, if you've ever been on jury duty or gotten a traffic ticket, you know this is true.
So look at that case. Well, let's talk about the whole concepts of trade wars then. We just transition to that. How do you feel about the trade wars that's happening between the U.S., Mexico, Canada, and China? Specifically amongst Canada and the U.S., because Canada's retaliated with 25% tariffs.
Yeah, I know. I heard this morning. I think that basically, and I was talking to my brother about this, as I told you yesterday, a couple of weeks ago. I think that basically Trump is doing this as a bargaining chip to get Canada to sell their oil to us cheaper. And I think that there are two basic reasons. Well, one or both are two basic reasons he's going to do that. One, it's better to buy oil from a foreign company that's on the same continent, much more cheaper, and you've got the pipelines to do it.
Would it also be cheaper to go fuel efficiency by utilizing?
And secondly, that brings me to my second point. If we're buying inexpensive fuel from Canada, then we have to drill less. And I know his drill baby drill, but that can also keep the environmentalists at bay. He is still going to drill, but he's not going to drill as much. So I think if he can I think he's doing it with Mexico simply because he just wants them to keep the people on their side of the border. Okay, I think that he's now the British are really worried about that, and I know this from watching all of the British news shows: BBC Global News, BBC World English News, listening to newscasts, the podcast, Good Morning Britain, Prime Minister's Questions, Question Time, all of them. Okay, that they're basically worried. And they think, well, maybe if we invite him to visit the king, he'll just no. It's going to take more than that. What he just wants them to do is just pay their fair share of NATO. This is a consequence for not paying NATO. Maybe we do have a deficit with Canada. Maybe they have treated us badly. I was thinking about this yesterday, and actually this occurred to me yesterday because I was on X and I saw a company in England selling tea, and I asked if they had a website and what shipping and handling would be. People could sell their stuff on a website from overseas.
Well, yeah. What are you talking about? That's how.
And they don't, and as long as I order it, all I'm paying is shipping and handling. They don't have to pay the tariffs.
What are you implying? That you buy it from a local shopper like Etsy or something? Like you would Etsy or Amazon? What would you be buying in your example?
Well, okay, like there's this one place called Yorkshire Tea, made actually in Yorkshire, England. Uh, if they had a website, I could just go to that website and I could say, okay, how much is this going to cost me in American dollars,
But what
including
if some
shipping?
of the supplies they use come from overseas themselves? That's the thing I guess some people don't think about. You know, the concepts of a lot of sellers just being able to sell directly to the buyer is one thing. But what if the seller is buying their stuff from someone overseas in a big supply chain?
Such as
That
China, who makes parts for our computers and so on.
okay, I guess you could say that. Fine. But in the grand scheme of it, we're talking about that cost would still go up for them, hence that cost could still go up for you, even on that small individual scale.
Oh yeah, basically, they're predicting that the price of cars. So if you guys have a car, my advice is to get the car warranty they advertise on TV for the next couple of years, because the price of cars is going to go up
Well,
because
price of cars are already up.
no, but
And I'm
it's
saying they are. You know, some people paying $1,000 a month for their car.
yeah, I'm aware. Yeah,
That's ridiculous. To me.
okay, but they're going to be raised even more, and here's why: because most of the stuff that controls the GPS, the camera, the backup camera, lights on the mirrors that blink and beep to make when you're about to make a lane change, or to let you know that a car is coming. Um, most of these chips are made in China. Okay. Um,
So what's your point to this?
and so for if we're going to charge tariffs on that, okay, then I it's going to be more expensive. It's going to be more expensive, and the only way to do that is, and I guess maybe he's trying to do this with Stargate and AI, is basically train people here in the United States to act, like Silicon Valley or wherever, to actually create these products. Now, I don't have a problem with China. I don't have a problem with China being taxed because of their human rights violations and Reddit and Red Note, and actually Texas banned. I saw something on the news. Texas, the governor of Texas, has not only banned TikTok, he's banned Red Note because from China.
Okay, but you know what? Isn't that against the First Amendment?
No, because it's the Supreme Court. The Supreme Court has already said this is a national security issue. So, um, and he's gone through the same things. If companies buy, if this is bought, then this is. But there are major Air Force bases, including NASA and Johnson uh, uh, Air Air Force Base uh, in Texas, and they have so yeah. But I don't have a problem with China. But when you tax our allies, England and France, and you know, it's just going to tick them off. They're going like he said, Canada's already retaliated.
Yeah, I don't think he cares.
Well, he needs to care.
Well, why?
Well, because if he doesn't, the Republicans will lose one or both of the houses next year, in 2 years. although the elections will begin next year.
You think so, don't you?
Okay. I made this prediction before when he was running in the primaries. If he's elected, what's going to happen is if he carries on the way that he's carrying on, people are going to retaliate, and come the midterms, we're going to lose a majority in the Senate. Okay. JD Vance won't be able to get, you know, dog catcher, much less a Senate nominee in there. And let's talk about the Senate nominees, because basically these are basically people. Now, 3 Republicans voted against Hegstead, which made it a 50-50 tie.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Vance, and it was legal, so there's no, I don't have a problem with it. I have a problem with the person getting in. But what he did is he broke that tie. Tulsi Gabbard and RFK Jr., I have questions that I don't think they're going to make it. I think you're going to get at least 4 Republicans who say no, and that basically there won't be a tie.
Mm-hmm.
They're talking about as many as 6, 4 that are 3 or 4 that are not going to do, and the usual suspects: McConnell, Warren, Collins, who are not going to give their vote, and the others who are like, well, I'm undecided, but I'm leaning towards no. Taking fluoride out of the water because it creates cancer and autism, which has been disproven several times, is just stupid. Okay. A guy that's a proven traitor, you cannot call him. Do you agree he was a traitor for, No, and she won't answer. I'm concerned about the future, not the past. Well, I'm sorry. Should this guy be let back in the? Okay, he stole secrets. He worked in the government. He stole secrets from and he did this under the Trump administration. I believe it might have been Biden. He stole secrets. He sold them to a country that wants to hurt us. And then he got asylum in Russia. Is he a traitor? Okay. No, he shouldn't be pardoned. That's not what I asked you. Is he a traitor? It's a yes or no question. Okay, RFK, he said, I never said this stuff about the vaccine. His own cousin, Caroline Kennedy, all his members of his family came out and said,
how do you feel about RFK?
I can't stand it.
Okay, get to that point.
He's a disaster. I mean, God, putting this guy in charge of Health and Human Services. I mean, really.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, that's
the worst case scenario if he were to get it.
Well, I may have been exaggerating a bit, but probably not by much. If he's Health and Human Services head for the next 4 years, in 4 or 5 years, our healthcare system is going to be so bad that the problems that the British have with the NHS are going to look like solutions to us. And we're talking about a system in the UK in which a heart attack system has to wait 45 minutes for an ambulance or take a taxi to the emergency room. Okay, they have people in hallways for 12, 15 hours. Okay. They don't have vaccines and people are dying left and right. They haven't even completed their COVID investigations. Okay. I mean, really. Um, but I do want to address something. I want to address something because I think it's important. Okay. I understand why so many people are against affirmative action. It's been abused by people on both sides. Okay. But Trump was out of line on his comments to blame DEI for the plane crash. Everybody knows it was the pilot. The pilot should have been at 200 feet. He was at 300 feet. He said he mistook a light on the runway as the light from the airplane. He screwed. Okay, uh, they the air traffic controllers, which were already understaffed because it was a slow night for them, they had one guy doing the job of two guys. So basically, you know, Trump used that was just out of line. And I looked the thing up. You've got to have a bachelor's degree. You've got to have to submit for a bachelor's degree. You've got to have work experience, and we're talking military. Okay, my uncle was military. He worked with some of these people, the FAA, and also Joint Chiefs of Staff after he retired from the military. And I'm going to tell you, Trump is just here's the problem. You know, they say that George Bush really wasn't all that bright.
Yeah, I remember that.
You know, although when 9/11 happened, I did hear a lot of people tell me, and that I was still in D.C. as a member of the Peace Corps at the time, say they were glad that they had him instead of Al Gore because he sort of came off with his cowboy sort of, you're not going to mess with me, partner. And Al Gore would have just totally flubbed it.
But that's the question. But the question would have been, would 9/11 even happen under Al Gore? That's also the other question.
I think it would have.
Maybe. I don't know. We're speaking of hypotheticals. We don't know. Maybe.
Yeah, I think it was going to happen soon because of the.
We don't know, because what if Al Gore went in there and changed some policy that could have prevented that from even coming into play?
No, it had to do with our values, our religion. We were infidels because.
Yeah, I hear you. At the same time, there's still no telling that was the case. What if Al Gore would have been aware and it could have countered it before it even happened? There's no telling. We can only speculate how he would have handled it, whether or not it would have happened.
Okay, I'm just saying.
I know.
I'm just repeating what people said to me.
I know. I'm just saying those people sound stupid.
Okay. And these were Democrats, by the way.
Yeah, I hear what you're saying.
But
they're stupid.
But the thing is, no, you think what they said is stupid, but you know they may or may not have had a legitimate point. Okay, the point is, Bush may not have been the brightest knife in the kitchen, but he surrounded himself with people who were rather intelligent and knew what they were doing. Okay. Trump, on the other hand, suffers from diarrhea of the mouth. It just runs and runs and runs. Okay. And he comes off as arrogant, boisterous, and he comes off as a bully. And he says some really unintelligent things. And he's surrounding himself with people who are not qualified. Tulsi Gabbard, even by her Republican colleagues in the Senate, agree that she's simply not qualified. Really, Dr. Oz, you want him in a cabinet position?
Is he not a doctor?
Yeah, but he gave up. Yeah, he's a heart surgeon. He gave up that because
he had Ben Carson in like what, housing authority or something. Trump was in the last term.
Yeah, but Ben Carson was.
I guess my point is he always put the wrong people in good positions.
Yeah.
That's just his history. This isn't anything new.
Ben Carson though was I think he was a senator or something before that. He had government experience.
Did he have government experience?
Dr. Ben Carson.
Yeah, I know, but
and I think he even ran for president.
Running for president is not being president.
No, but he had.
No, he didn't.
He didn't?
No, he didn't.
Okay, but the Department of How,
either way, I don't mean he's fit for the job.
Okay, but
which he wasn't.
But here's my point being is that he's surrounding himself with people who are controllable. And when you do that, sooner or later, you're going to get very tired of them, or they're going to get very tired of you. And you're going to, one or the other, or both are going to turn on each other. That's why I don't think Elon Musk is going to last very much.
You know what Elon Musk wants to do now? He wants to get rid of the U.S. aid.
Yeah, I heard that.
He thinks it's a criminal organization. He says it's a criminal organization.
The USAID?
Yes. Yeah. No, you don't believe me? I'm not making this up. That's on his Twitter. Hold on, I want to show you. I know you can't share this, but that's what he said.
USAID officials put on leave after physically trying to stop Doge from accepting agency systems.
He's trying to break into their systems.
Okay, so let's go into USAID.
What about it?
Because that is actually, I believe, run in conjunction with the United Nations.
Well, I can tell you real quick. Hang on a second. I can tell you real quick. Let me just... United States Agency for International Development is a U.S. government agency responsible for administrating foreign aid and development assistance. Its main goal is to promote economic growth, democracy, and humanitarian aid worldwide to advance U.S. foreign policy interests and global stability. The key areas it works in: disaster relief and humanitarian aid, economical development, global health, democracy and governance, education, environmental and climate efforts, infrastructure and technology development. The USAID operates in over 100 countries, partnering with governments, NGOs, private organizations to implement these programs. Its ultimate goal is to help countries become self-sufficient and rely less on foreign aid.
Right. That's I remember. Yeah. Peace Corps works with them from time to time.
Yeah. Well, Elon Musk says it's a criminal organization.
It's not a criminal organization.
They're trying to get rid of it for a while now. And he's on a mission to do so under the Doge initiative that Trump is still okay and has not said anything about yet.
Again, this goes back to him ending up in court. I don't think a lot of this stuff is going to take place because basically it's already shown that there have been a lot of legal challenges. Elon Musk actually is not a cabinet official. He doesn't have an official position. He's an advisor. He's not a cabinet employee. Okay. So he doesn't have the power to get rid of it.
Don't say what he doesn't have the power to do when he's in the ear of someone who does.
He does have the power to influence the president to do it, but he cannot. It's like the Department of the head of the Department of Health says, okay, or the CDC or the Housing Department or the Department of Transportation say, okay, I have the power to put the Surgeon General. I have the power to put this policy in. He doesn't have that power. Doge is a made-up agency. Okay, all he can do is tell Trump, "Look, pal, I think this is what you need to do." Now Trump needs to look around him and see, okay, what's going to be the consequences of his actions? Because you asked me about Greenland yesterday.
Yeah, Trump wants to take Greenland.
Okay, he's not the first president to do that. By the way, several presidents have done that since the 1800s. Some have even done it as recently as the 1930s and 40s and 50s. Okay, it's a lot of countries have tried to get Greenland because of its mineral resources. Okay, it has zinc, it has oil, it has copper, it has gold. Okay, it could make, okay, Denmark, it's a semi-autonomous country, which means basically Denmark owns it, but it gives Greenland, it's what the British call devolution. It gives them funding, but you run it how you want. But basically, you're owned by us. Okay. Okay, just like Westminster controls what happens in Scotland and Wales. So, but so he would have to buy. Denmark's not going to sell it, and if he goes in as and attacks Denmark as a NATO ally, he has broken a treaty. If he leaves NATO, which he has threatened to do, and he attacks NATO, I looked this up. NATO's treaty says that if you attack one NATO country, you attack all NATO countries. Okay, and we are obligated by our treaty to come back. This is why England and other countries don't want us to leave NATO, because we put in the most money. Okay, we have the most military power. Okay, I disagree with him on the Ukraine, by the way. I think money should have been possibly lessened, but not totally annihilated. Okay.
When you get done, I have a question to ask you. It's about immigration again.
Ask it now.
Hypothetically, if Jesus were to come back,
Oh, right.
do you think they would ask for his papers? Hypothetically, not saying with the trumpets and everything, but if Jesus would have walked this earth and we knew it was Jesus, well, you think there would be some people who be like, he's an immigrant? If you tried to set up shop in the U.S.?
In other words, Trump knows that Jesus is Jesus.
Not just Trump, people in general, because we can't just act like it's just Trump.
Okay.
ICE authorities, let's even say that.
Okay, so everybody knows that Jesus is Jesus.
This is Jesus. This is the Son of Man.
Okay, and they believe that he's Jesus.
Yes.
But because he doesn't have any papers.
The question is, because he's not a U.S. citizen, would they pressure him to get papers if he tried to set up any establishment in the U.S.? Because he ain't going to have money, so he's going to do it by himself with some help. But do you think he would get flack?
I think if Trump knew that Jesus Christ was on earth, he'd try to make a buck off it.
That's fair.
Okay. I think he would be. I think he would appoint him to a White House position, and he would. He
No,
would.
you know he'll turn it down.
Of course, Jesus would turn it down. But I think he would say, "Look," I think he would invite him to the White House, and he would say,
So if he turned it down, do you think he would deport him?
"You can't deport the
Why
Son of
not?
God."
Yes, you can. Legally, you can, and legally, Jesus won't try to stop you either. Let's be for real. Legally, Jesus will not come.
Jesus said,
Jesus went to trial for his life, and he did not really argue his case. He stuck by his word and said, "Let the punishment be what it is."
Yeah, but Jesus also said, "Give God what is God's, and give
Yeah,
Caesar
exactly.
what
But
is Caesar's."
he said that. But I'm saying his actions won't do anything. If Trump tried to deport Jesus, will people be okay with that? Let's run the whole scenario out. It's a hypothetical. We're just having fun. It's a Sunday.
Yeah, okay.
So a whole hypothetical. He's not taking a cabinet position. He's not a legal U.S. citizen. Trump tries to deport him. How do you think the people react to this? It's a weird hypothetical.
Okay. First of all, he won't take the cabinet position, so everybody knows he's Jesus. So you would have lawyers lining up, even though they knew they on pro bono. Okay, they'd be doing this for free because, and they would be going to the Supreme.
Jesus couldn't pay for him anyway, so they'll have to do it for free.
Yeah. So they and they would take this all the way to the Supreme Court, and they could put out on their commercials, "I defended Jesus Christ."
Well, let me ask you a question. Okay. Would you front Jesus the cost of a lawyer? He ain't gonna ask you, but if would you start a GoFundMe in the name of Jesus to prevent him from getting deported?
I'd have Jesus if I had Jesus' permission.
You will need his permission.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it's a charitable thing. I think he'll be okay. I don't know if I don't know. I'll be interested. I don't know. It's a weird hypothetical. I don't know what Jesus.
Well, the First Amendment says you can't use someone's image without their permission.
You can still do a GoFundMe. People people did a GoFundMe for, I think, Kim Kardashian so that she could become a billionaire.
That's sad.
Hey, it happened.
Yeah.
Mind you, she didn't ask anyone to do that, by the way, just for that part of that.
Mm-hmm. Well, most people would probably see that as a scam. So it probably wouldn't take off if I got on there, just little me from South Carolina. But Trump would not deport Jesus if he could use him. I mean, I don't think even if he turned down the cabinet position, he'd be like, "Look, I need to." Even if he didn't take the cabinet, Trump would keep him on hand. Okay.
I don't think Trump believes in God. When they asked Trump, because Trump said he loves the Bible, right? And he said, they asked him, "What's your favorite Bible verse?" And he said, "I can't pick one. They're all so good." But Trump, what's your favorite Bible book? It's hard to choose.
That's a common question.
So you mean to tell me someone who claims they are devout, not even devout, but even if someone who may not be that much of a Christian or whatnot, they can give you a Bible verse. A verse. They're not asking him for an entire text. They're like, give me a verse. Give me a line. Give me, you know how many lines out of the Bible just quoted at a random day anyway?
Yeah.
So he couldn't do that?
Unfortunately, Trump represents the majority of people who no longer go to church.
I don't think he got to go to church. I just think he doesn't care about the Bible. He's an ignorant. Well, okay, whatever.
Most people, you don't care about the Bible.
Who?
When I was living at the cloisters, you told me, I kicked you out of my apartment because you said that maybe God doesn't exist.
And what have I been saying lately? I'm giving you proof and other means of how he does. But I guess what, I can still quote verses out of the Bible.
You're right.
That's still the point.
First Corinthians chapter 13, verse 13. After all things was finished, there are three things: faith, hope, and love. The greatest of these is love. Jesus wept. That's the shortest sentence in the Bible. Um, in the beginning, God created man and woman. Um, yeah, I get your point. I don't.
John 3:16.
If God so loved the
Yeah, that's just
world,
like
He
a lot
gave
of
His
it.
only
Like I
Son.
said, simple stuff. People may get some verses wrong, but even that the whole love of money is the root of all evil. That's still a Bible quote. They're just misstating it.
Yeah,
It's simple stuff.
I think that basically, people. I mean, we have televangelists who misquote the Bible,
Yeah, one thing to misquote, but it's another to not even be able to quote.
but
I'd rather accept a misquote than no quote.
But okay, I get your point, but again, until I get Trump saying that he's an atheist or he's an agnostic,
You're not going to get a person just openly saying that, especially they're running on a campaign or a group or a political party that utilizes that. Because again, I can go the route of Hitler. Hitler never proclaimed to be anything. He was raised, I think, Catholic.
Yeah,
but in the end of it, he never proclaimed
but his
anything.
mother,
He never proclaimed any denomination during the course of the time in which the Nazis were in power. But the Nazis did use religious propaganda to enforce their ideology.
and he also loved dogs and young children.
Okay. Just want to point that last
out.
that religion can still be used by those who may not believe in it to avoid atrocities.
He also got pissed off because his mother she not only married outside the religion, but his stepfather was Jewish.
I bet.
Most people don't know that, but that happens to be true.
I don't think that's the reason why he didn't like Jews, though.
Well, no, he felt the Aryan race, and
he felt the Jews were bringing down the nation. He blamed.
Actually, that's an interesting thing because historically, and he illustrates what's happening now and what's happened through the nations, is we bring immigrants in to build our railroads. We did it with the Irish. We did this with the Russians. We did it with the Japanese.
Yeah.
To do our laundry, to clean our houses.
I get you. What's your point to this?
Etc.
To do labor work.
To do the jobs that we don't want to do.
Mm-hmm.
And they stay here. They become citizens, become naturalized, and they have children. And they're so strict on their children because they want them to do well. Those kids actually become successful.
What are you saying exactly?
And so the immigrants are becoming more successful than the natives. And so the natives respond with, "You're taking all the jobs." They did this with the Irish. As a matter of fact, Woodrow Wilson made a speech called Hyphenated Americans.
Oh, Woodrow Wilson. Yeah, he was a racist, but go ahead.
And he says, well, and it was about Irish Americans.
Interesting.
And if you were Catholic in this country, and most people don't know this, it was legal, even with our First Amendment,
to do what?
To say, to advertise, put an advertisement in the paper or an advertisement on your business, and say Catholics need not apply.
Well,
Catholics at one point were not allowed to vote or hold public office, and I know this because I've done this through my family genealogy. They pretended they married an Episcopalian, and they intended to become Episcopalians, and they became private Catholics, just like in England. So, but it wasn't until World War I when they needed more soldiers, okay, that they said, "Oh yeah, well, let's give the Catholics a right they deserved by the Constitution." The Kennedys, That's why we've only had one Catholic president, and such as it is, Biden. He's not really even a Catholic. Um, but but that's what So we come into the world. We talk about anti-Semitism, and I point this out to students I teach online and in person when I substitute teach a high school class. And I said, The Great Gatsby. I said, I want you. Why did Jay Gatsby change his name from Jay Gats to Jay Gatsby?
No, go ahead.
And that they say, I don't know. I said, okay, what did Daisy Buchanan say before she ran out and she killed the mechanic? Because rich American girls don't marry poor Jewish boys.
Mm-hmm.
I said, this is 1920. This is 20 years before we got in, more than 20 years before we got into World War II. We treated the Jewish people like garbage. If you read the Great Gatsby, because
what's your point exactly, though?
So
I'm sorry.
My point is that there is this blame the immigrants thing, but maybe it's not the immigrants, it's the maybe way we see them. Now, by the same token, I've watched Question Time, and I've seen that people have admitted that, basically we're not giving doctors and nurses the pay that they deserve. They don't have private like we do. Because they come from overseas, they're immigrants.
So what are you saying exactly? I'm still
not so my thing, I was making that there's an interesting parallel between your thing between Jewish and
immigrants.
Yeah, and historically speaking, it's just the way we as a nation are. I think the more, but we're getting off target. Trump's attitude towards immigration, we need to do the border. Okay. We just need to stop people at the border and send them back and say, look, and just put it out there, put a whole email blast, put it all out there.
Well, what about people who aren't necessarily just crossing the border from that extent? Again, it still goes back to the other problem of forget that side of it, because the other part of it is still the agriculture side of things. What about those people who uses that immigrant labor to help with their farms?
Yeah, I read something about that in the late 90s. Yes, it was late
90s. We're talking about now.
No. This started. It was an article. It was about strawberry farmers in California. What would happen is these guys that grew strawberries, they would go across the border. They would
get some help, bring them
over. They would bring them over, hose them down.
What about it?
And they would take them back.
Yeah, I know. But
okay.
What do we do about it now? That's my thing. Because what Trump's plan is removing those people. And already there's been situations reported where like about 40% of the labor in that force are not showing up to work in fear of being deported. So what happens to our produce? Groceries are going to be high for a multitude of reasons. Like the reason why eggs are high right now is because of the bird flu that stopped, with chickens producing eggs.
Yeah.
So what if we get to that point where our produce, because these people aren't picking apples, bananas. We already got the tariffs on the imports, but the stuff that's being grown domestically, like peaches, for instance, potatoes. If you don't have people in those fields who would do that labor for the cheap, not even cheap, Because even if you were to pay people full amount, some folks just ain't doing that job. Like, that's just a job some people don't want to do. So what happens here? What's the solution if they're not able to use migrants?
Okay, my thing is that if you have a legitimate reason for being over here,
Work.
okay, like you're fleeing a country that.
Well, what if it's just to get a better, because they pay more? I'm a Mexican. I sneak over into California because I get paid to do X, Y. Granted, I'm not a legal citizen, but these people pay me good. I save that money, help bring in my family. Now, don't get me wrong. I've been meaning to go do the paperwork and stuff, but, my wife's been in the middle of that. She ain't even get accepted yet, but I still got to work for my family. So because of that, that's why I'm here.
Okay. Here's the problem. I understand where you're coming from there.
I'm just giving you a
but
scenario.
here's the problem with that scenario.
Okay.
Because it happens.
Yeah.
It's happening. Is that these people are exploited. They are underpaid.
Yeah, but I mean,
no. Listen. They're underpaid, and when
to what standard they are.
Okay, they're not paid the legal minimum wage. Okay.
They're paid under the table. Yeah.
Okay. And every politician knows this is going on. Okay. I've sat at tables. I've gone to Jim Clyburn's fish fries. I've gone to things where meet and greets where Joe Wilson has.
Yeah, I get you.
Okay. I as a journalist, I've been to these things.
Okay.
Okay. And doctors and some farmers said, look, senator or congressman such and such, I need this, if
a bill or something? Is that what you're saying? You need a bill? Get to your point, because you're
they say, look, I've got this farmer. It's going to put me out of business if I don't pay him under me. And they say, I got you back.
Okay, even if that's okay. Forget it. Okay, but hang on. You're talking about that scenario. I'm still talking about let's say they are being paid a fair amount. Still, this is not addressing the bigger issue. What's working for these farmers in that institution? Because even if they pay people $20 an hour, people still ain't doing that job. Okay. That's the point I'm making. Like, who does the work is my question.
I'm saying the people. I'm saying that the people are already in the country doing that work.
Who?
Okay. The illegal.
Yeah, but I'm saying though, if you get rid of them, who's doing it?
But I'm saying keep them in the country, get them to work. Okay, give them get them a chance, a pathway, whatever, to citizenship. Okay. Trump said, well, the Dreamers, we're going to give them a pathway. I knew that was a load of garbage when he said it. But the fact is, from here on out, so Trump says, hypothetically speaking, he gets up there today. He says, as of 5:00 on February, was today the 1st or the 2nd? February 2nd, 2025. Mm-hmm. Okay, nobody's allowed across the border for any reason until we finish processing all the people we have over here. Okay. So just don't come.
What do you do about the people who are here? We're talking about the people who are here.
Okay, we process them.
But okay, you say that like that's an easy thing. Some people are going through I'll give you a great example. My buddy, a guy I used to work with at Verizon. He's been going through the legal process of citizenship for his wife. It's been taking 5 years. We process them. It's a bogged down process. That's the problem. So to say we process them is an answer that's kind of being worked on. But hang on. The problem is that ain't an answer for what's happening now, where people are just being rounded up. Again, my question for the people being rounded up, you have those that work on farms. How is this going to affect agriculture? And what's the answer to make sure it doesn't have a high effect? I know you may not have the answer, but
I don't know.
because
I think it's going. It's I think they should. The people that are already here leave. Just worry about stopping the people at the border. Now, if you have identified that there is uh, a sex trafficker or a murderer or a criminal.
Yeah, but even then, the people being rounded up, half of them, if not a lot of them, aren't even that.
Okay.
We're talking about still, you know what? When people mention that, this is like the same small percentage of people who get abortions because of rape and incest. It's that exact same percentage. So to hear that talking point is almost a mute talking point. You know how you like to ignore that? Well, don't want to say ignore, but just don't want to miss it. Okay. It's that same type of talking point when you say that.
So once you round them up, you put them into two groups. Okay. You give them the temporary, say, look, until your case is heard, don't leave the state, otherwise you will be deported.
Yeah, I hear you.
Don't leave the jurisdiction, don't leave the city.
I hear you. It sounds like, this is why we probably shouldn't talk immigration, because this doesn't really sound like a solution that's going to benefit.
Well,
you're talking about what should happen. And I get the ideas of what should happen, but Seymour, we keep talking about what should happen. We can't keep with the should when we're past these points. Just like with the whole Trump should have said. Yeah, but he wasn't going to say it, and he didn't say it, so what do you do now?
Okay, well, here's, in the 1980s, as I recall, Reagan gave all the illegal immigrants that were already over here amnesty and just basically make a closeted, okay, you're citizens. Okay. And it was supposed to end at that point. And then under Clinton, things got out of hand. But at some point, things got out of hand. It wasn't under George Bush 1. So it must have been under at least Clinton.
What's your point?
So there should have been a law put in place that said, okay, I'm going.
You going with the should again?
No, just let me finish.
With the shoulds.
What Reagan did, okay, he did with the best of intentions, but he did it halfway. He said, I'm going to give these people amnesty, but we're going to pass a law that says this.
I got to interrupt. You know why I don't like these should conversations? Because it's easy to say what should have happened when we're past a point in life. Hindsight will forever be 2020. It's easy to look back and be a genius about what could have worked and what didn't work. That's why I don't like this whole should conversation talk. Well, because it doesn't solve anything.
No, I don't agree. You have to look at the mistakes of the past.
I guess you got to look at the mistakes of the past. But the thing is, you got to look at some solutions now. Because the mistakes of the past,
I think
those mistakes in the past are best remembered to avoid these things. But
I think
here now.
Okay. Let's address your thing with agriculture. Okay. We
because I'm telling you,
the best scenario that I could come up with is this. Give people who have been here X amount of years or longer.
What's the minimum?
Okay. That undocumented.
What's the minimum?
That's why I said X.
I know, but what's the minimum? A year?
Let me finish. Okay, let me finish.
Uh-huh.
Give them amnesty. Okay. Okay. Meaning.
I know what amnesty is, but go ahead.
Okay.
Amnesty or what?
Meaning, okay, we're going to figure out some way to make you guys citizens. Okay. So that here but we're going to do it within we're going to have you go through the process of 7 years. In 7 years, you can become that gives
So
you.
basically, what you're saying is, if you make it in here 7 years, no matter where you're from, and you just don't get discovered in the 7 years, you become a U.S. citizen.
As long as you don't commit any crimes.
I know, but that's what I'm saying. As long as you don't get caught committing a crime in 7 years,
or you haven't. Yeah.
So that could be for anything and anyone. That's a slippery slope.
No.
So if you're here for 7 years and you appear to be an upstanding citizen, you're a citizen.
Well,
because they could be trying to escape a country for a crime and literally just hiding out.
But during that 7-year period, their case would be investigated.
Well, how would it be investigated? So now they're coming up. So what is this person? Is this a person who came in through some means of government, like, hey, I'm in the U.S., or this person just crossed the border?
This is a person who illegally crossed the border.
So they illegally crossed the border. And as long as they can maintain living here 7 years without being caught for a crime.
Or one that they have previously committed.
Okay. Even then, because they still got to go to trial there. You can't prove they did it, I guess, because it could be an assumption. Someone could be hiding because they're claimed for murder, but they don't want to go through it because the cartel can frame them. Hypotheticals, right? These are little nuances. That's why I'm trying to figure out your scheme. In 7 years, though, they could be a U.S. citizen. Just flat out. Let's just say they are upstanding citizen. Forget the rest of the caveat. Upstanding citizen. They come here, they're apple picker. They do construction work. They do dishwashing. And in that 7 years' time, they're a U.S. citizen.
Well, yeah, because that's what amount of time. If you come over here legally, that's what amount of time.
Yeah, legally. You're talking about illegal. We're talking about illegal.
Okay.
Like the guy who's coming over.
But that's what I'm saying is, until you process these people, you say, okay, we're not taking any more people. Okay, until we get this mess figured out. Now, at the same time, what you have to do is this. Say, okay, you may be from England. You may be from France. You may be from Canada. You may be from Germany. You may be from one of our allies. But let me tell you something. Okay, if you have gone more than, let's say, a month without report, or you've gone more than a week, well, let's say a month, without reporting to your immigration officer.
Well, again, that would have to mean going through the system.
No. I'm saying when you're over here on a visa.
Well, what if some people aren't over here on a visa?
No. I'm saying let's say the situation I described with my fellow student in 2004. Mm-hmm. Okay, her boyfriend was from England, but he had dropped out of school.
I know, but I'm asking about the illegal immigrant who's coming over here without going through the process and is still trying to be an upstanding citizen.
No, but I've already addressed that. I'm saying at the same time, we also have to apply another mode. Okay? We also have to say, okay, look, you may be our ally. You may be from a country from our ally. While we're doing what we've already done, the hypothetical you get. Okay. Now, if you've been over here for 3 months, pal, on a student visa, you have dropped out of college, and you're okay, then that student visa is null and void, and we're shipping your backside back to your country. I don't care if it ticks off the ambassador. I don't care if it ticks off the king. I don't care if it ticks off the prime minister. You have violated immigration.
But I feel like that doesn't happen to a lot of.
No, that's not. We turn our blind eye because we don't want to. We don't want to tick off our allies. But the fact is, we have to do. Okay, so while we're doing this, because we want the world to see that we're trying to be reasonably fair. Okay, so we want to send a message, and England's having the same problem with us. I watch it. I hear almost every week on Question Time. Okay, where students come over, they don't renew their visas. If you haven't renewed your visa in a given amount of time, let's say a month, okay, your visa's up. I'm sorry. If you haven't met with your visa officer, your immigration officer that you're supposed to meet with on a weekly basis to say this is how things are going with me, okay, and you've missed four meetings and you haven't given an explanation why, okay, that then what happens is we deport you. Now, let's not pretend that these illegal immigrants aren't coming over here because people in power are permitting it.
Yeah,
because many of the people in power who are complaining about it are part of the problem.
Yeah, but you know what? That's a lot of things like that. You know, most of the people who have issues with gay problems tend to be gay. Most of the people who have issues with porn tend to really be addicted to porn. Some people have issues with drugs tend to be the highest drug users. They just don't use the drugs they're trying to ban. Some of the people who have issues with immigrants have immigrants. Like, that's just the hypocrisy of it.
No, what I'm saying is, okay, in South Carolina.
Okay, I'm saying just
in South Carolina.
Okay.
Since we want to bring this, James Metz.
Mm-hmm.
This guy had buildings named after him all over the state.
Mm-hmm.
This guy was considered the most honest. You know, he was on a committee to stop illegal immigrants, but he was taking bribes under the table.
Yeah, but as I said, people are hypocrites. What are your points to that? Like,
okay,
you speak about the hypocrisy in government. That's not it. I just gave you examples and how they exist in all forms.
But those people need to be dealt with. So if Walmart is knowingly hiring, or they're not doing the necessary paperwork for the I-9 or the W-2s, okay. If you can't produce a Social Security card or a green card, and you're still being hired, then those people should be, okay, if you're trading on the stock market, you should, hit them where it hurts, hit them with the money. You're banned from the stock market for a month. Next time, 3 months, permanently banned. Okay, your company goes out of business. Okay, hit them where it hurts. Okay? If you are hiring someone, okay, if it's a private individual, okay, you are an accessory to a crime, a felony. Okay, you are harboring an illegal immigrant. That's a felony.
They're not doing anything that is harmful, but they're actually bringing. I don't know. It's just the illegal immigration thing is so nuanced.
No, okay. What's his name? Huffington. Okay, Ariana Huffington's husband. She was married to a conservative. This guy was running for governor. He probably would have been the first Republican governor in X amount of years.
Yeah.
Okay. They knowingly hired and kept in their employ a housekeeper, and he had to drop out. One of Clinton, I forgot was his first term or his second term, but his choice for Health and Human Services knowingly kept in her employ an illegal immigrant as nanny. She had to drop out. She would have been confirmed had that not been the case. She was qualified. Okay. These people need to be sent to jail. Okay. I don't care how rich you are. Our Constitution says no one's above the law. Now, the fact is, immigration has been a problem since the 1970s, at least, probably longer. I know it's been a problem since the 1980s, but the fact is, what countries need to do is we need to just say, look, we're dealing with this current mess. We're not going to deal with you guys. So you come over, okay? we're just going to send you back. Okay? Until we get all the people that we need deported, or all the people processed, don't even think about it. Because you set one foot over here and you don't have the proper documentation. You don't have a birth certificate. You don't have a whatever. And I know there's the argument that, okay, if you're fleeing from a country, let's get these people settled. Okay? Let's figure out what these people have to do. Do these people need amnesty? Are these people criminals? Okay, are these people traffickers? Are these people bringing fentanyl across it? Okay, and quite honestly, I don't have a problem with Texas and California saying, Texas and California saying, taking part in this and saying, look, we don't want them over here. We don't want them over here. We got enough population. If California wants to deal with them, and quite honestly, I'll be honest with you. What do you call them? The secure cities.
Yeah, sanctuary cities. I guess.
Sanctuary cities. Why are you deporting people from sanctuary cities? They're sanctuary cities.
Because they're illegal.
No. They're sanctuary cities.
They're illegal.
As long as they stay in
They're illegal. That's why.
Okay. But as long as they stay in that city and they don't leave.
They're illegal. Make them legal, then they'll stay.
Okay.
But sanctuary cities are something of the liberal media that just wants to sit here and hand out people with homes and stuff.
I agree. But I'm saying...
Oh, you agree? Wow.
Okay, but I am saying let the states in which those cities deal with the problems.
But what if those states are coming to Trump and saying, help me fix this problem?
No. They don't get help from the federal. Okay, you wanted to become a sanctuary city because you took on the liberal view that we need to help these people. Okay, if one of these people commits a crime in your city, that's on you. You knew this could happen when you made this a sanctuary city.
But let me ask you a question. Let me ask you. Do you feel like sanctuary cities are wrong?
I think that should be left up to the states that create them.
But I'm asking you, do you think they are wrong? It ain't about whether or not the states can determine. I'm asking you, your personal opinion. It's on a ballot. Are you voting for a sanctuary city? Do you think they're right or wrong? Make it, oh God. Pick a position. Stick your chest out with it too.
If someone said, Keith, would you make Columbia or Irma or any city?
Yeah. Yes or no? Come on, we get it.
I would vote no.
Why is that?
We already have enough problems.
So you feel as if there's too many problems I have to deal with.
Okay.
We have a homeless problem? Is that what the state? We do have a homeless problem. It's only getting worse, actually.
Yeah. And but
but just in general, in the concept itself, do you think sanctuary cities are bad? In the concept.
I think if citizens...
No, I'm asking you, in the concept, you personally, do you think they are just a bad idea?
I don't have an opinion.
How do you not have an opinion?
No, because I think this is my personal opinion.
I don't want you based on Columbia, South Carolina, just in general, the U.S. Just, do you think there should be sanctuary cities? I just want to hear yes or no. I don't care what
that's a 10th Amendment issue.
I know it is, but Seymour, I'm just asking from a grander scheme of a human being, which you are. Is it right or wrong? Just as a human being, a thought. It ain't gonna be right for every city. I'll agree, but I just want to know: do you think it's right or wrong?
I personally don't. I don't. I have mixed feelings on it. I have mixed, and here's why. Here's why. Okay, I am Roman Catholic. The Catholic Church has always been used as a sanctuary.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
You're offensive about it.
Okay.
But what's the pros?
Okay. Now,
what are the cons?
if if an illegal immigrant was to come to the Catholic Church and stay there, and the church gave them sanctuary, I would not have a problem with that, because that is a First Amendment issue. Okay, you cannot. Okay,
but I give it that.
Okay, but on the other hand, I think when it comes to government, I can't talk about a city that I don't live in.
I know you can, but it's just the idea of it again.
The idea of it, I think.
That's the question. Just I
think sanctuary cities were created by bleeding heart liberals.
But do you think it's wrong? I get, again, it's just, do you think it's wrong? That's what I'm asking you. Wow.
I can't say it's right or wrong. I can say
you can't say it's right or wrong. You can give an example of why sanctuaries exist, and you just think it's something created by the liberal media. And I do.
No, not the liberals in general.
Okay, liberals in general. Whatever. The point is, I'm just asking you think it's right or wrong. Like, do you think it's wrong that a city be like, yeah, we could take in these people? You can't actually be like, well, that's a great gesture. Okay, that's not bad.
Okay. If people want to take them in, if people want
to be like, no, I think that's ridiculous. You shouldn't do that because they're illegal immigrants. Why would you want to bring in illegal immigrants? Okay. Some people can have an opinion. I don't listen.
No, let me finish.
Let you finish. You sitting here on the fence.
No. I'm not sitting on that. I don't have if people knowing the problems that could exist are willing to take a certain course of action, whatever that action is.
That is so vague. That's not even answering the question. Whatever that action is. Killing them? Would you be okay with that action? You see how vague and ridiculous that sounds? Because I'm giving you the direct action. Not know whatever that action is. Okay. I gave you the direct action.
People
do you think, yes or no, sanctuary cities good or bad?
I don't agree with them. But at the same time, and I would not want to see them in South Carolina. But if Chicago is willing to do that, I don't see the problem with Chicago being a sanctuary city.
So there it is. They're not a bad idea. They're not for me, but they're not a bad idea. That's basically what you're saying. Yeah, I'm fine with sanctuary cities, but they're just not for me. That's the answer, Seymour. That's all you had to say. That's not a hard thing to do. Some people be like, no, I hate sanctuary cities. But if they want to do it, that's on them. Other people are like, I'm fine with sanctuary cities, but me personally, I wouldn't want that here. You see, that's an easy way to answer that. It's not that complicated. You make it complicated.
I think they're a bad idea, but if someone else wants to disagree with me,
but I said about whether or not you think they're again. Okay, fine.
No. You're missing the point.
No, you're missing.
I think they're a bad idea, but
that's what I have to find it. Say that. Which one is it, Seymour? Are sanctuaries a good idea or bad idea? That's what I'm really asking you. You saying they're a bad idea or a good idea?
Okay.
Listen, that's what a city wants. I'm asking you personally. What do you think?
I think they are a bad idea.
Okay, that's fine. No, that's fine. No. You don't need to do however. That's fine. If you already explained the other part, I just want to know your opinion. You explain why they're good. You explain why they're bad. I just want to know where you sit. Good idea, bad idea. That was it. You don't have to do no prefacing because you did all of that. Okay. Fine, they're bad idea. Move on. We can move on now. That's it.
But not if they exist.
I know you're fine. And if the city wants to do it, they're fine. You said that. You said that. I'm about to leave.
Okay.
I gotta go.
Okay. And
you can continue. You don't have to keep me here. You can talk to them.
Okay. So, anyway, he's going. So, guys, look. Trump has made some mistakes. The next 4 years is really going. Look, I'm a Republican. I'm a moderate Republican.
That doesn't mean anything.
But I'm a Nikki Haley Republican. Okay.
That sure as hell don't mean anything.
Okay.
Nikki Haley is a Trump Republican. So what does that even mean? I'm a Nikki Haley Republican.
Okay. You're leaving. I believe in all things in moderation. Okay. I personally don't agree with the idea of Trump of sanctuary cities, but if Chicago or San Francisco or some other country want and the state, their state in which they reside, says it's okay, let it be. Okay. I don't see why you need to go into sanctuary cities and take those people, as long as those people stay in those cities. Okay. And let it be on that state and on that city. Okay. If they have crime goes up, then because of they've created they've been made a sanctuary city, that's their own fault. If the economy improves because they have more underpaid workers uh, picking produce or whatever, hey, all the more power to them. Okay. I believe Donald Trump could do a good job if he would just stick to the script that's written to him, and B, he would think before he talks, and C, and most importantly, if you're going to make claims about the FAA hiring people with, and by the way, I have epilepsy. Okay, I haven't had a seizure in 25 years or so. Or people with autism or Down syndrome being hired as air traffic controllers, you better damn well have proof. Excuse my language. That's probably going to be bleeped out. You better have proof. And Trump said, well, no, I don't have proof, but this is a common sense thing. Well, he's a little low on common sense, but that's my opinion. But the thing is, if you're going to make an accusation about why an airplane crashed, you better have proof. People like RFK and Tulsi Gabbard said, I don't see any problem visiting the leader who's threatened for the past decade or so that he's going to kill us. That person doesn't need to be over the national security as national security advisor. And I don't want a guy who's willing to take fluoride out of toothpaste and the water, which is basically a discriminatory action because people in rural areas, and I live in South Carolina, which has 46 counties and only 2.5 of them, maybe 3, if you include parts, are non-rural. So poor people who live in rural areas who can't get to the dentist, they've got something to help their teeth back up. And this is, the doctors on these panels said they read from every expert. This does not cause cancer. This does not cause autism. He said, I'm not anti-vaccine, yet his own family produced emails and letters. The guy created an anti-vaccine organization called the Children Defense Organization. Okay. And do you know what the dialogue was? You created an anti, and I've never agreed. I've met Bernie Sanders, unfortunately. I've had that dubious pleasure. And I think the guy's an utter moron. But and I never thought I would agree with him. But he says, your organization sells onesies that say go anti-vaccine. Do you agree with that? Yes, of course I agree with him. What it says on the onesies. But I don't belong part of that organization. You created it. But I'm not anti-vaccine. I create an that makes absolutely no sense. Okay. Where RFK is concerned, not only has the elevator not gone to the middle floor, it hasn't even left the basement. The guy is 4 quarts short of a gallon. Okay. He's 12 eggs short of a dozen. I put on my X thing, and it's under Right Stuff Seymour, WRITESTUFFCMOUR at X. If RFK is R, and this may be a slight exaggeration, but it's not far off in my opinion. If RFK becomes the head of Health and Human Services, many of our problems in 4 or 5 years, we're going to be so bad off that many of the problems that England has had for the past 15 or 20 years with its NHS are going to look like solutions to us in 4 or 5 years. I don't think Elon Musk is going to last. I don't think it was intended as a Nazi salute, but he should have known better. The Anti-Defamation League in England and the United States and the internet said they didn't see it that way. Fine. If a bunch of Jewish people are going to say this, we don't take offense to this. This isn't what it is. I'll take their word for it. They would know. They've lived through it. The tariffs, not a good idea. Well, on China, get them to, shape up or pay, but we need to get more people over here in the United States educated so they can work in Silicon Valley. They can work in Seattle. They can work. We need to have more people. Okay. The problem with those tariffs is that many of our cars are going to become more expensive because the stuff used for those cars, as I've described, that the backup cameras, the GPS, the thing that makes the key automatically go, unlock your door, whatever, they come from China. Instead of putting tariffs on there, it might be better just to tax them. Okay. For goods they receive from us. Or do what was done for 50 years. With Cuba. No American, make it illegal for any American to have a business or to travel to that country. Cuba, prior to the I guess what, the 60s, made a booming economy off tourism. They're 90 miles from on near shores, 90 miles from Florida. But because the money that they were making was being used by Castro to oppress those people, okay, it was made illegal for any American business to do business over there. It was made illegal for any tourists to go over there. We simply did not trade with Cuba. Okay. And we did not allow Ernest Hemingway, one of my favorite writers, used to do fishing off Cuba. No, we were not allowed to do that. Ruin the tourism trade. You ruin the economy by making it illegal to travel to those countries. Now, Trump says about the Panama Canal. That China now owns the Panama Canal. No, China does not own the Panama Canal. There's a treaty. It was signed in 1977 by Carter, but it didn't go into effect because someone in Washington, go figure, until 92. Someone in Washington messed up on the paperwork, according to what I understand. Is a multi-nation thing. China has ports on both sides of the Panama Canal. The other country that does that is us, the United States, to my knowledge. I may be wrong. If I am, you know how to get hold of me. I don't care if Mount McKinley is called Mount McKinley or Mount Denali. It's the same piece of rock in Alaska. And I'm sure people are going to call it whatever they want. Okay. The Gulf of Mexico, okay, I don't care if Google Maps calls it the Gulf of America. It's been the Gulf of Mexico since forever, okay? What is he going to arrest? Meteorologists and journalists and people calling it the Gulf of Mexico? That's not an enforceable law. That's stupid. You cannot own an international waterway. Okay? Once you get off your land a certain amount of miles, it becomes international water. So really, it could only become the Gulf of Mexico as far as it reaches the various American pieces of American land. Okay, so a lot of this stuff, Trump is going to end up wasting our money in court. He's not, Canada's not going to become the 51st state. They're a sovereign state. It took them years to get away from England, and they're still a Commonwealth country, but they still have their independence also. Okay. Okay. They're going to have to go to get Greenland, and they're not the first American president to do that, because for obvious reasons I've already stated. They're going to have to, Denmark's not going to sell. Now, that means sorry guys, Anyway, so the guys, uh, he has to attack Denmark. If he remains a member of NATO, basically, he's broken the NATO treaty. He's got the UN all over us. If he leaves NATO, which he's threatened to do because NATO needs our money, from the research I've done, is if a non-NATO country attacks a NATO country, you've attacked all NATO countries, and all NATO countries then get together to defend you. That's why we're defending the Ukraine. Okay. Trump claims that by the end of his 100 days, and he said he'd do this in 24 hours, so we may not even have this done in first 100 days, but wouldn't be surprised, is he's going to end the Ukrainian war. The general idea is that he wants them to give up concessions, to give up the land they've already lost. That's not realistic. I would venture to say that if they agree to give up Crimea permanently, which the United States and the West did not help defend when it was it 2012 or 2014 taken, that might go. There needs to be some sort of a thing in writing. Russia, it is rumored, wants to make one of the conditions that Ukraine not agree not to join NATO. That's not going to happen. So, again, I don't think we should have withdrawn from supporting Ukraine. I think we should have lessened the amount that we gave them. Although I do see Trump's reasoning. They're in Europe. They're across the pond. But then again, so is Israel. Now, whereas Israel's concerned, okay, the Middle East is a mess. It's been a mess for over 50 years. We just need to let them sort it out themselves. Okay? I'm hoping that the ceasefire, these hostages, all of this will, and let's give credit where credit is due. Yes, Biden did a lot of the work. He started in May. But Netanyahu didn't respond until Trump made his threats. I don't think we should be the world's police. But I do believe we should continue to be the world's leader. And yes, people are going to attack us because unlike in the Cold War, which ended in 1990-91, we are the only superpower. Okay. If you're the only one at the top, then everybody else wants to bring you down. But to my friends in England, I'm going to say this. You guys complain about the American tech giants, yet you use us. You use Apple for your podcast, and Android, and Microsoft, and you're on Facebook and X. And I'm going to say this. Yes, tech companies should be held more responsible. And I am for laws that do that. But people, if you go to the settings in your cell phone, okay, and you scroll down, you turn on the parental controls, and your kids can't get that thing. They've had this for over 20 years. When my niece was in the 6th grade, she wanted a cell phone. I told my sister to give her the cell phone, but to put the parent, and she had to pay for it back then. An extra $20 a month. My niece could not put an app, a phone number in, could not make any changes without my sister or her husband opening it up and giving with their special PIN that the cell phone company gave them. You have the same ability for your computers. So parents need to take more responsibility. Finally, you can always reach me at Right Stuff Seymour at X, WRITESTUFFCMOUR at X, or you can reach me at Keith H. Seymour at bellsouth.net. KEITHHSEYMOUR at bellsouth.net. Have a good week, and I'm sure I'll see you back more about Trump's antics. I don't think Tulsi Gabbard and RFK will be confirmed. I think there are enough Republicans that have questions about them that they won't be confirmed. But bear this in mind. Trump is still going to be in court. The difference between now and the previous situation is he's not going to be using his money. He's going to be using the taxpayer money. Whether you vote Republican, Democrat, Independent, or anything in between. You need to be in contact with your congressman or senator and let them know your concerns. Cheers out.